Hello, students. Now, I welcome you to the session 5 of our discussion of August month. And this is the last video, right? So, finally, a relief. So many videos we have done. So, in the part 3 of our part 3 in our session, we'll be discussing defense work, right? Okay. So, in the session 5, we have done science and technology, art and culture. Now, finally, we have come to defense. So, with respect to defense, the first point is first fact we're going to read is advanced short range air to air missile, that is ASRAAM. Okay. Okay. So, it's a within usual range air dominance missile with a range of 25 kilometers. Why in the news? Will be the first wing launched missile in IF. AF inventory as all the missiles presently fired under the wing. So you have to remember that it's a first wing launched missile and all the other missiles are fired under the wing. IM is looking to adopt SRAM in its Sukhoi M30 MKI and the indigenous light LCA, light combat aircraft LCA will these Tejas. We'll read about it this today. Okay. So if their missiles are really confusing, right, for you also. So what I suggest you that read the missiles here, then I'll provide you a compilation. Then you can do um, a comparative study between different missiles, and from that it will reinforce all the thoughts and it will help you to revise as well, right? So this is ASRAM, advanced short range missile, air to air missile. So I have to adopt ASRAM missile across its fighter fleet. Remember, it's a within the usual range, not beyond visual range. So you getting my point? So it can attack you, it can attack the other person or attack other thing within the visual range, not beyond it. Many of the missiles are beyond visual range. We'll read about those also. Right. Next is LCA, a Tejas aircraft. So it is the first indigenous aircraft to make an arrested landing. That's not the case, but it is the first Indian completely Indian indigenous aircraft. So first, why in the news received a final operation clearance for induction into Indian Air Force as a weaponized fighter jet. It is a indigenous fighter aircraft produced by HAL, right? HAL. Last year it was in the news because of the Rafale deal. And designed by Aeronautical Development Agency, not too much important. A feature single seat multi-role jet fighter powered by single engine can carry out mid-air refueling. Refueling can be done in the mid-air. So it is the world's smallest and the lightest supersonic fighter aircraft in its class. Limited reach of over 400 meters. Will perform close to ground operation. That means if it has to perform the operation, this is the ground, it has to be close to ground. As compared to the Sukhoi or the Rafale, which they have deep strike capabilities. For example, they need not to be close to the ground, right? They can be above the ground. Unlike the Russian origin Sukhoi or the Rafale, which have deep strike capabilities into the enemy territory due to their long range. It is equipped with the state-of-art satellite-aided inertial navigation system. Not the first indigenous. It's not the first indigenous fighter to be inducted into IF. The first one is this. It was HF-24 Marut fighter. I'm really sorry. I'll just amend it. It's not the first one, right? So first one was 1967 HF Marut fighter, advanced medium combat aircraft for ACMA or ACMA, right? Okay. So the story of Tejas itself is very intriguing, right? So it was first conceived in 1983 and finally in 2021. You can see so many years it has taken to come into fruition, right? So if you see this one, a delayed development, a saga of a fighter. So story started in 1983 and finally in June 2018 18 jets have been delivered now. FOC clearance has been given now, and the final delivery of 83 Tejas will be given by 2023. So very slow process, goes to show the problem in our Indian defense manufacturing scene as well. And that is one of the problems of Indian defense manufacturing overall. Slow rate of procurement, poor capacity management in India, these things, right? Next is MSMR-SAM. So medium range surface to air missile, right? So it's a land-based variant of the long-range surface-to-air missile or Barak 8 naval defense system, which has been designed to operate from the naval vessel. So we have Barak, which is designed to go from the which is designed to go from the naval base, but this particular is a land based variant. Okay, it is obviously it is a variant of Barak, so it is developed by India and Israel jointly, right? Okay, so it's a supersonic missile, strike range of 50 to 70 kilometers, and land based variant. So Indian Navy successfully test fire MRSAM missile, right? Okay, next is INS Rajali. So INS Rajali is basically a naval system. Arakokanam Air Station. You can see the location here in Tamil Nadu, in the Ranipet district. Okay, located in the Arakokanam in the Tamil Nadu. So it's a naval station, naval air station. INS Rajali. Next is hypersonic technology demonstrator vehicle. So basically, it's a demonstrator vehicle. Just 1 second. It's a demonstrator vehicle developed by DRDO. It's an indigenously developed technology demonstrator vehicle to prove a number of critical technology for futuristic mission from this particular Abdul Kalam Island. So basically, it's an unmanned scramjet demonstrator aircraft for hypersonic speed flights. It is developed as a carrier vehicle for hypersonic and the long-range cruise missile and will have multiple civilian application, including the launch of the small satellite at the lower cost. Right. So that is why this is a very critical piece of technology that we have developed. So it will be will be demonstrator vehicle, and it will set a platform for the further applications. Right. So just remember that it is driven by the DRDO, not ISRO. ISRO has not done it. DRDO has done it. Right. Okay. So this is it. So DRDO conducts a maiden test of the hypersonic technology demonstrator. Next is P-8I long range maritime surveillance aircraft. So this particular P-8I aircraft is a variant of the P-8A Poseidon aircraft that Boeing developed as a replacement for the US Navy's aging P-3 fleet. This much you don't have to remember. Just remember why it was in the news. I don't think it is relevant for exam, but just for the horizontal coverage, we are covering it. Recently used by India for anti-pirate sorties from Salalah in Oman to patrol the Gulf of Aden. With this, Indian Navy expands its mission-based deployment in the Indian Ocean region. Okay, this was the second time P-8I operated from Salalah for anti-piracy this year. Right, so P-8I long-range maritime surveillance aircraft working in the Oman. So what is this particular MBD concept? Under this mission-based deployment concept, Navy maintains a ship at every choke point in the Indian Ocean region at the point of time. The Navy has deployed 733 ships till date. So basically, India's image as a net security provider, right? Net security provider. So one of the component of this particular net security provider is this MBD, that is deployment. Mission-based deployment. This is the Salalah where the news was there, location, right, in the Oman. The questions can come any direction. That is why we are covering it from the different perspective. Next is Spider. So it's a surface-to-air missile system. It's an IF, Indian Air Force, Israeli origin. Okay, so it's an air missile, surface-to-air missile system with an Israeli origin. As I was telling you in the other videos, I will also give you the compilation of the missiles or the aircraft or different weapon system from different origin, from Israel, from USA, from USSR, like this. But firstly, we are covering it on a monthly basis, right? We have to do this to reach up to that extent. Okay. So why Israel Spider and US made air defense weapon system is required for India's defense capability. India successfully test fire Israel's Spider missile from Pokhran test range in August 2019, right? So this one is relevant, that is why. Just remember, Spider system, if it comes, it's with the collaboration with Israel. Next is S-400 Triumph. S-400 we have seen many times. Now we are finally reading it in comprehensive manner. So it's a long-range air defense system consisting of a surface-to-air missile that can attack UAV, drones, cruise missiles, right? So defense system is basically the defense. So if any missile is coming to your India, coming to India, so this particular system will destroy these particular missile system. It is by Russia, range is 400 km. Maximum altitude it can go 10,000 feet. Okay, has command and control system, multiple radar units, automated system from acquisition to final engagement. Fourth generation system in the terms of combat capability identified NATO as the by NATO as the SA-21 Grover. Not important how NATO identifies it. It is such as the world's most dangerous system, and that is why India has acquired this particular system. And if you remember F-35 system of USA, we have done that, and its engagement with the Turkey, because Turkey has also acquired S-400 system. So US has said that the F-35 program of USA and S-400 of Russia will not go simultaneously. We have done that in international relation, if you've revised that. Okay, so as the news was selling that S-400 components, you can see command and control center, right? Acquisition battle, launcher is there, then mobile mass system. So it has these many components deployed different places, and overall it acts as a system of air defense system, right? This is S-400. Okay, so in the latest version, could also intercept ballistic missile. They were deployed in 1970s across the Soviet Union for protecting key industrial complexes. So they have a colonial, not colonial, they have a Cold War history, right? So today S-400 had different types of missile. However, in the Cold War period, desperation of the Cold War period, it was developed. Because US has NATO allies nearby Russia, right? So Russia has to make these systems, air defense systems, so that any missile comes to that place, they can destroy these missiles. Air defense system they have to maintain. Next is quick reaction surface to air missile, QRSAM. So India has successfully test fired it. It developed to replace the Akash missile defense system and has a 360-degree coverage. Uses soil fuel propellant, strike range 20 to 30, capability of hitting multiple targets, capable of hitting the targets at the low flying objects. Okay, capable of hitting multiple aerial targets. Designed by DRDO, obviously. Okay, developed with the BEL for the Indian Army. Okay, quickly we'll move on. That is Bhabha Kavach. So Bhabha Kavach is basically India's first lightest and indigenously bulletproof jacket. Bhabha Kavach from the Ordnance Factory Board gets node of MHA. So this jacket can withstand this. You don't have to remember the critical thing or the bullet fired from AK-47 rifle even. Bhabha Kavach only weighs 9.2 kg. It's a major breakthrough for Indian Armed Forces. Bhabha Kavach. From the name itself, Bhabha Kavach. Kavach means protector sort of a thing, right? Can withstand INSAS rifle, 5.56 INSAS rifle, first launched at the International Police Expo, right? India's first lightest bulletproof jacket, Bhabha Kavach. Next is ASFA. So we'll cover ASFA. Actually, I'll cover ASFA in detail in our Explain It series. The first topic we'll cover in Explain It series will be ASFA only. So just to quickly, we'll read it here. So ASFA is basically declared by the central government or the governor of a state, right? These two people have authority over it. So central government in the news, central government has bestowed upon itself, the white is in the news, the authority to declare any area of the in the nuclearly created united territory of the Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh as a disturbed under the ASFA, which gives the sweeping power of security forces to act against any suspect. So basically, after the demarcation of the Jammu and Kashmir, division of Jammu and Kashmir into union territories finally. So with the bifurcation, so the government has said it has taken upon itself the power of declaring the areas under the ASFA. Till bifurcation, state government through before bifurcation, state government through DM were empowered to declare a particular area as a disturbed. Administration of the ASFA, right, in both union territories not vested with the Department of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh under the MHA. Okay, this is ASFA. It is also there that Leh and Kargil were never declared as the disturbed area. You need to remember that, right? Okay. So what is ASFA? So when the ASFA is there are special powers provided to the police forces, right? They can arrest people without warrant, right? ASFA allows any commissioned officer, warrant officer, non-commissioned officer, or any the person of the equivalent to first fire upon or use forces against the person acting in contravention of the law, destroy any structure suspected to house armed dumps, shelter from which the armed attack are made, conduct search without warrants. So it bars the prosecution of proceedings except with the center's note against the personal for action committed while exercising power under the act. In the concepted series, I'm starting a new series. So in the concepted series, I'll talk about ASFA. I'll talk about different dimensions of ASFA, not only from Prince perspective, but also some of the main perspective, the recommendation of committee, the Supreme Court judgment on ASFA, right? All these things we'll cover. Some of the fake encounters I'll also discuss there. So ASFA, where it is declared now, for example, Nagaland, entire Nagaland has been in the ASFA for, you can see, December 2019. So it has been declared ASFA for 6 more months. So that means entire Nagaland is in the ASFA. Entire Manipur is not in ASFA. Entire state of Manipur, excluding the Imphal municipal area, is not in ASFA, right? So that means Imphal municipal area is outside the jurisdiction of ASFA. Next is Arunachal Pradesh. So entire Arunachal Pradesh, again, it's not in ASFA. Only these districts of the Arunachal Pradesh are in ASFA. Tirap, Changlang and Nonding. So remember, just 3 districts of, you can see this area, Changdang, Tirap, Changdang and Longdong. These districts are in the ASFA district, right? So next is in the Assam. The whole Assam is, the entire state of Assam is a disturbed area, office of governor. So, and it has been removed from Meghalaya, it has been removed from Tripura. Okay, Meghalaya and Tripura, it has been removed. Sikkim, it's not there. Next is Cold Start Doctrine. So Cold Start Doctrine, also known as the Cold War Doctrine, the protective strategy. So what is basically Cold Start Doctrine? So it is its aim is making a swift and a hard inroads into the enemy territory. So basically, I'll tell you. So, for example, India and Pakistan are both nuclearly powered state, right? Now it says that Cold Start Doctrine means army gets inside the Indian territory and come back. So before the nuclear threshold, for example, India and Pakistan are fighting, right? Let's just clear it out, then we'll see. For example, this is the nuclear threshold. For example, India and Pakistan ceasefire violations are happening. The tensions are rising. Tensions rise, right, up to this level. Then it come back because nuclear threshold is not touched. Nuclear threshold means if it goes beyond it, any conflict go beyond it, then nuclear power Pakistan will use on India or India will use on Pakistan, right? That means that, and Cold Start Doctrine says that India will go up to this extent, then will come back. We will mobilize make swift and hard inroads into the enemy territory and we will prevent the outbreak of nuclear war. We will be remaining below this particular threshold, right? We will prevent the outbreak of this particular nuclear war. So stuck enemy within 72 to 96 hours of the directive, right? And it was fueled by the Operation Parakram. We'll see Operation Parakram. After the terrorist strike on the parliament on December 2001. So in December 2001, I think I have Operation Parakram. No. So in 2001, there was a terrorist attack on Indian parliament. So then this was the Operation Parakram scene. All the military was deployed along the battle lines. You can see here and there also. Both armies have roughly the same number of corps facing each other, right? It was the mobilization, swift mobilization towards the along the border. So that was Operation Parakram by the military. And from that, the Cold Start Doctrine came to news. In the mains, we read about the implication of Cold Start Doctrine. That Cold Start Doctrine gave Pakistan a justification to start its own tactical nuclear weapon. Tactical nuclear weapon. It gave justification to the Pakistan to start its own tactical nuclear weapon, right? So this tactical nuclear weapon of the Pakistan, they justify it because they say India has this kind of Cold Start Doctrine, and that is why we need to have this tactical nuclear weapon. We'll read about that. You should read about the security dimension in your mains preparation, right? Next, cyber security policy. It's an old policy, 2013 policy. Just it was in the news. That's why we're covering it. So this policy talked about. They talked about setting up different bodies, a different level of threat, set up national nodal agency. They talked about creation of National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center, and they have already created it. This is created, National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center. Creating a workforce of 5 lakh trained in cybersecurity, not done properly. Provide fiscal benefit to the businesses, setting up testing labs. Cybersecurity policy was, it's a really important development. Now, government is thinking of coming up with a cybersecurity strategy. Policy has been decided. Now the strategy has to be created. Define a national cybersecurity strategy. First of all, there is a cybersecurity policy. Then the bodies will be established. Then the strategy will be, there will be national dialogue, and they will put the um, different, for example, capabilities, talent strategy, nuclear national cybersecurity capabilities, preventive cybersecurity capabilities, and all this. So this is the architecture, though we are really slow at it in doing the things. Next is national cybersecurity coordinator. From previous perspective, you need to remember this cybersecurity coordinator is not under any ministry. No executive power, as not under any ministry. Remember that, because the question will obviously, the first option will be MHA. Second option will be MATI, but it is not under any ministry. Okay, coordinates with different agencies for cybersecurity matters. Cybersecurity strategy go for cabinet note for Pansood. So that is what I was telling you. National cybersecurity policy. So strategy, sorry, national cybersecurity strategy. We are still planning. When we are, last time we have read about WannaCry, non-Patria, right? But still, India's cybersecurity capabilities are really not up to that level, and we need to push it up, because as we go for digital India and the digital empowerment of the people, we cannot afford to miss out on that, right? Okay. Next is in the news, too much in the news, national defense chief of defense staff, right? So before that, we had this particular post is almost in all the countries, major countries. USA, Pakistan have national chief of defense staff. So who will be it? We'll read about in a very comprehensive manner. So having this post has been recommended by the Kargil Review Committee led by K. Subramaniam, Naresh Chandra Committee on 2001, 2011. They have recommended that we need to have a chief of defense staff. He will be the head, one person, he will be the head of the chief of staffs committee, right? So now what is chief of staffs committee? So current structure in India, before chief of defense staff was made formal. So chief of staff committee, it consists of the army, navy, and air force chief, right? So there is a chief of staff committee consisting of army, navy, and air force, right? And the people senior most of the three chiefs will in rotation is the head of it. So nobody is a head, the chief will be head. So there is no one person who is heading it on a permanent basis. So now chief of defense staff will be different from these three people. These three will be different, and chief of defense staff will be different. He will be head of chief of staff committee. This is chief of staff committee. So he is the permanent head of the chief of staff committee, right? It is a platform where the three service chiefs discuss important military issue. Now it will be replaced by permanent chief of staff, right? You get the point? Okay. So here it is. So this is the defense minister, defense secretary, the civilian dimension. This was the military dimension. Don't see the people, right? But Bipin Rawat is the chief of defense staff, first chief of defense staff. So chief of army, this is this is chief of defense staff, and the future it is chief of defense staff, it is saying. So roles and responsibility, he will be the senior most, he will be the chief of defense staff, and all the things we'll read about it. So why the CDS matters? The problems are, obviously what will be the problem? So presently chiefs are both operational and the administrative head for their service. They cannot devote time as the chairman of the chief of staff. For example, we talk about Navy, Air Force, and Army, right? For example, Navy head is selected as the chief of defense staff, head of the chief of defense staff. Now he is both administrative head and also working as a chief. So he's saying that a lot of burden on that person, lack of synergy between three services. Government has to deal with the three service chief. Government has to deal with all three. Service operate in silos. So having a full-time CDS will solve this problem, right? It will involve an integrated plan and accord inter-service prioritization. Will function as a single point military advisor to the government, which will promote the jointness or set up the structure to enable the service to operate together. So the synergy system that is lacking, the comprehensive civil military leadership, it will be there. So now there will be permanent chairman of the Chief of Defense, Chief of Staff Committee. Single point military advisors to the government. 4-star military officer equivalent to the Chief of Army. Responsibility to look into the joint issue of services like training of the troop, acquisition of weapon system. In charge of the Tri-Service Command at Andaman Nicobar Island as well. Right? He will be, Chief of Defense Staff, apart from being the head of the Department of Military Affairs, will also be the permanent chief of the defense staff. We'll read about it. Department of Military Affairs has been created under the Ministry of Defense. We'll read about it in the administrative side of things somewhere. Okay. And the Prime Minister in its Independence Day speech announced the creation of this particular post. Many other things he will be function as a military advisor to the Nuclear Command Authority. We'll try to cover the structure somewhere also. The current structure, Nuclear Command Authority. He will be function, Nuclear Command Authority we have done. He will be the member of Chief Defense Acquisition Council, chaired by Raksha Mantri, that is Defense Minister, and Defense Planning Committee. Defense Planning Committee, he will be member of all the ones. And that is how he will take the coordination also, right? Okay, and the Vipin Rawat to be the new chairman of the Chief of Staff Committee, that is the Chief of Defense Staff. Next is very important topic, Mission Shakti. So it's a joint program of the DRDO and ISRO. It's a joint program of DRDO and ISRO. It's an anti-satellite missile test. Scientists shot down a live satellite in the low Earth orbit at 300 km in space. Microsat R satellite was there, and it was drowned by the ASAT missile. India has built the broad capability and the building blocks to develop ASAT missile under this ballistic missile defense program. ASAT was a modified X-atmospheric interceptor missile of the BMD. So ASAT missile Mission Shakti was to showcase our capability that if any threat to us, if any threat to India comes from the space, we have the capability to destroy those particular threats. So it is the 4th country in the world to demonstrate the capability to shoot down the satellite in the orbit. So far only US, Russia and China have this capability. It will act as a space deterrent in dissuading adversary from targeting the country's satellite network. Not only India, but also Indian satellite also. Not only India, but also Indian satellites that are that are outside Earth. We have read about Navik. We have read about different Indian satellites, right? So if any satellite threatens this or threatens India, or any missile deployed on this satellite threatens India, India will now have capabilities to destroy this particular target, right? So, low Earth orbit was chosen to minimize the debris. Okay. So, an anti-satellite weapon provide the capability to shoot down the enemy satellite in the orbit, thereby disrupting the critical communication and surveillance capabilities. So, Mission Shakti, obsolete satellite destroyed by DRDO. Obsolete DRDO satellites what had 300 km demonstrates India's ability to detect, target and destroy space object. It was done before the election, so that is why it was a bit controversial, right? Okay. So we have discussed all these things, right? Next is the last topic of the discussion today, Defense of India Startup Challenge. So it's a part of IDEX. We have done already. IDEX we have already done, right? So it's an innovation for defense excellence scheme. So it's startup challenge. Just like the challenges we have read in our in the governance topic, the different challenges by the government, New India challenge and all these challenges for the startups to come up with a solution to the problems that are important to India. Okay, so the finding solutions to the critical need of the armed forces. So that is why different sectoral challenge. Build up an ecosystem of innovation entrepreneurs for the defense, making in India a self-reliant country. So Defense India Challenge under the IDEX initiative, Defense Challenge has been launched by Ministry in partnership with the Atal Innovation Mission, aimed at supporting startup and MSME to create a prototype of commercialized product solution for the national defense and the security. So this is the national startup challenge, defense startup challenge, right? So this is it for our August month, right? So in the August month, we have finalized with the 15 videos, which relatively small videos. We have tried to finish our August month. Similar endeavor will be there for the coming months, that is September, December, January, February and March, hopefully March, because I no, if the prelims date shift, we'll also cover the April month also, right? Okay then. So we are done with the September month. Sorry, we are done with the August month. I'll see you in the September month. Please keep revising it from the videos, from the PDFs. We also have the small PDF also made for you. They'll be developed on Amrita Telegram channel. We'll provide you the link also. All right. So see you in the next class. Thank you.